It's a song that originally Omar wrote as a gift to me that was like purely electronic based the whole way through. There was all electronic drums, the whole sequence was just super electronic, and he showed it to me as like, hey, you know, I wrote this for you on a plane ride, and I really liked it, and then I just sort of did a bunch of rough takes of gibberish all over it, and it was a lot of fun. And then I started getting into the mode of, you know, the term where children should be seen, not heard, and how a lot of people suffer from being under the will of parents, really, you know. And I think a lot of people tend to fail at life because they're enacting their parents' neurotic tendencies and their will, and the person that's, you know, enacting those neurotic tendencies on the child is holding the whip hand. That's what it means. I'd heard Omar play that on acoustic a bunch. Right when we thought we were done with the record, I kept telling him, let's do that song. And then a bunch of other songs came, which actually prolonged the record even more. And then I really had a strong affinity to it. It reminded me of sort of Ejibamiasian Tagomago era can, but when we put our stamp on it, it's a little more aggressive. And I use the term where the children should be seen, not heard, which doesn't come from Arrested Development. It's actually a known idiom that's existed for a long time that I think applies to a lot of people. It's a title I've had for a long time because I got it from a book. I know a book had it in the title, and it just sort of stuck with me, and I thought, oh, you know, rock and roll, we all sample each other's ideas. Kind of like hip-hop in the 90s. So, which is why our t-shirts are the way they are and our backdrops are the way they are, that concept. I love playing the song because only the bridge really requires me to have to really be disciplined in singing. And, you know, I'm using a lot of flower references, the way, sort of rebelling against the way, like sitcom writers use flower motifs in writing to make a metaphor more true to life, and I'm actually using it in there, listing a lot of flowers, because in the story, the main character he has an older brother that has passed away, and his older brother's trying to contact him, so I used the Greek mythology of Hyacinth, where Apollo's favorite was struck down, and when he was struck down and killed, he came back to life as the hyacinth flower. So in the story I wrote, the brother is trying to get a hold of the main character by constantly growing back in his front yard and, you know, always grabbing his attention. It's another song Omar was playing. I know Juan called it his Joni Mitchell song, but then when we got a hold of it, it came off a little more My Bloody Valentine or something, I guess. And I think it's one of our most direct and just a breath of fresh air for us. I really like that song a lot. It has a lot of, I guess it has a lot of heart, at least from my standpoint. I was trying to come up with a way to describe the character's mom in the story, which she is sort of she's a stripper at night, the mom is, and she's really cruel to her son, so the Malkin Jewel is the town's nickname for her. I think I remember my first attempt at it was really loud. The verses were really loud, and Omar was like, you sound a little too much like Nick Cave on that. I said, yeah, you're right. And so I did it again, and I did it opposite of what people know my range to be, which was fun. And then I think it still came off a little Nick Cavey, but, you know, if anything, it's an unconscious homage to the Grinderman, and, you know, even the way our managers point out it. It's almost like this quote of Alice Cooper, and it's just one of my favorite songs. I literally kicked out all the lyrics while sitting on the can one night, went to the studio, laid it down. Yeah. Lapochka is a Russian term of endearment. It means like, like a cutie or dear one. You know, it's a term of affection, and I use it for the song because it's how the mom sarcastically calls her son, because they're so at odds with each other, and he has this sort of He's a lot like the character Ignatius in what's it called, Confederacy of Dunces, and got a little bit of Holden Caulfield in him, and he's just a little sarcastic asshole. So every day that he interacts with his parents is, difficult for his mom. So his mom calls him Lapochka as sarcastically. In absentia is a term I got from a book a friend gave to me, and I've always been fascinated by the Rosenbergs and the trial of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, and in reading it, the term in absentia was there because one of them was tried in absentia, which means you're not there at the actual proceedings, but you're tried. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that it has something to do with the band, another band who used it in the title of their album, but it has nothing to do with that band. It's like a Western chord structure. What comes around goes around. We're all going to repeat something one of us did, whether it be with words or melodies or, so that's what it is. And it's one of my favorite songs. I really pushed. The album was ready, and I was like, we have to put that song on. We have to. Got to the studio, listened to my old takes, and I'm like, can't put that out there. So I redid everything as much as I could, and then we, the very end used to be the chorus, and then it was like, no, let's keep that for the end, and then we just spending the whole day treating it because we were rushed to release it, and by that point, this whole movement had happened with the fans of, Occupy Warner Brothers, and, so it really all just comes back to how long I took with the album. I really took my time with the album, going through a lot of stuff, and was getting rid of pot smoking in my life, and it's not an easy task, so it was like it took me a while to get to where I'm at, and so I had to really take my time with everything and do it the opposite way of which we do, which is like an album a year usually, or several projects at once, so just goes hand in hand with the whole Occupy Warner Brothers movement. It was actually really my fault because I was taking my sweet ass time. It's one of like the more like song orientated ones, a bit softer. It started off acoustic, and then all these treatments later it became this sort of hybrid sort of pop song. So it's kind of like where we left off with like a song like Copernicus, and we just sort of turned it into this modern version. And now that D'Antoni's in the band, it's like it's realized even more to be able to reproduce something like that live with the drums and not come off stale like some sort of quantized, drum machine beat. We did that one a long time ago, around Bedlam era, in a studio in New Orleans. And to me, right away, when I first heard the original way it sounded, it reminded me of like a Fire Hose or a Minutemen track. It just has this kind of quirky three-piece thing to it, and then it started becoming more and more its own thing, and became what it became. I use the story and myth of Moloch as sort of like the boogeyman for kids, which is actually the parents in the story. Trinkets Pale Moon. It's a fun song to play live, and the album version is very different from the live version. The album version is very short and concise and ends after the song ends. And then live we stretch it out at the end, and it becomes this sort of, I don't know, Silver Apples style jam. And to me it's the sound of what his parents make him do at night, the main character. And they don't make him do very nice things at night, and he doesn't remember them. Another simple one that was one of the first ones that I tackled, I had ideas for right away, and just sort of made gibberish tracks, where I'm singing I'm alone at night. That was like the only thing I really had written for it, but the rest was kind of there. Yeah, it's another one that's just sort of like the condensation of being so long-winded for so many years, and it's a breath of fresh air for us. I really have fun playing that song because it's fun to scream the little pre-choruses of Do You Think I'll Fold. It's hard to hit, and it's fun. It's a good challenge. That one, I'm back to my old ways, being really long-winded and using a lot of complicated sayings, and which is just a hard thing to break from. I'm paying a little bit of homage to Peter Greenaway and his movies, and I really like the movie called The Thief, the Wife, the Cook, and Her Lover. I've always been, a lot of people know, a Helen Mirren fan, and was attracted to the movie because of her. And then I was attracted to, his other movies from that movie, and I just always liked the term Zed and Two Naughts, so just kind of borrowed it because of what it means. Zed, Z, two naughts, two zeros. It's a zoo. It's describing the living situation that the character's going through. Home life is a zoo.